just in case nobody is here that should be listening. Right. When you submit your assignments, there is a specific section in the module outline that shows you how to submit your assignments. So your assignments are usually cataloged and kept at the college, right? So there is a cover page that goes first, and there are instructions in your module outline how to submit. So it has a kind of format. It has our logo and your name and all the information that you are required to give, right? I've included it in the module outline. So when you submit an assignment, the first page is your cover page and then your assignment. Now, some of you did do that. Some of you did not do that. So I'm hoping that when you in the future, when you submit your assignments, you will do that. The other thing, academic writing is a very specific subject. It's almost like engineering in its diligence and in its approach, where engineering requires exact information and exact numbers and precise workings when it comes to language and format and font and size of font, etc., etc. All of that is prescribed in the same way that engineering sets requirements. Academic writing has the same requirements. So when you do submit your assignments, please follow the directions that is given to you in the module outline. Okay, it will help you. Um, the other thing that I came across in the paragraphs is grammar. Now, you were supposed to write this with your writing partners. So if you want to kill your writing partner, you can go ahead. Some people's grammar was a bit of a problem. Please remember basic mechanics apply in this case. So please double check. If you are still not sure, Microsoft Word has a grammar check that you can use, right? If you hit grammar check, it will underline in green or some other color to tell you that this is a problem. Have a look, right? Grammar, there were other issues, the spelling issues. Please double check with spelling. Spell check is available also on your Microsoft Word. Just hit the spell check. Spell check will have a look. You can choose which form. I'm not particular. If you use the British form, that's fine. If you use the American form of spelling, that's fine too. But just be consistent throughout your writing. So if you stick with the British, the whole article or whole piece of writing has to be British. If you stick with the American one, the whole, well, obviously American, right? Spelling. Um, Try not to mix. They don't like it when you do that. Um, Referencing, we're going to get into referencing today. You're going to be learning how to do a proper paper and how to reference proper according to APA and so on and so on. Also, you will notice that for my classes, there is only a due date. There is no deadline and all of those things. So you must plan your time management accordingly, right? So that your work is in on time, and you should take into consideration any technical glitches that you may have, like internet connection or your work not going through, etc., etc. Now, if you read the instructions that I gave you, I asked you to email your paragraph. Only a handful of people did email, the rest of you submitted via Google Classroom. So that's another form of technical requirement. I know you're probably thinking, same thing, right? Google Classroom, email. Yeah, technically it is the same thing. I did get your work. It was officially submitted. But if you read the requirements wrong for a journal article, for example, they will send it back to you and ask you to do it again. So you know how professors do research, then they write it up and they send it to a journal that publishes the paper, and they have very specific requirements. If your font is the wrong size or one of the headings is not bold and it should be bold, they will send it back to you and ask you to do it. So they are very, very particular about everything. So I think it's a good idea for you to adopt the same approach, the same level of diligence when you are working for academic writing. Okay. Um, yeah, those were some uh, problems. Now, one very serious issue, uh, when you write your paragraph, okay, your paragraph has no space in it. Okay, there are no spaces in the paragraph ever. Okay, so some of the paragraphs had a couple of lines of text, and then there was a space and another uh, kind of multiple paragraphs within. It wasn't an essay. This was not an essay. This was an actual paragraph. So I will get into that into more detail now. So if you submitted, so this is how the grading works for the first submission. If you submitted, you get the points, right? You get, it's a submission assignment. You get the points. What I want you to do is I want you to keep, especially your academic paragraph, and you are going to refer to your academic paragraph as we go along to see how you are going to improve that academic paragraph, right? So during the time I will refer to the academic paragraph. If you have it, you can pull it up and put it on your screen somewhere that you can refer to it while I'm busy discussing it, right? Because I'll ask you to have a look at it, and I'm going to show you something, and you can see where you went off or where you should improve, right? You're going to use it as an example. So if you submitted on time, you got your points, right? I just want to share my screen with you. Okay, so last week, what did we talk about last week? Do you guys remember? Or what was our previous topic? Anybody remember? Or
Did it were you talking about Google Scholar and all of those stuff,
yes,
or
we
was
spoke
that
about Google Scholar.
okay?
Yeah. So we talked about finding sources, right? How to find sources. For your articles, right? When you prepare your research for academic writing, how to find sources. Now, judging from the class list, we have many different majors in our class, right? So I think we have the, let me see if I got this right. Communication, we have psychology, theology, and business management or business administration. We also have Bachelor of Commerce. We have accounting students, right? So we have many different majors. Now, for communication students and psychology students, this is very important stuff because you'll be doing this again in your third or final years. For the theology students, Professor Paulus will be dealing with you. You'll be transitioning from APA to, I think it's Chicago style for formatting and so on. Business management and accounting students, um, I'm not sure if you guys have any of these modules later, but it's good to know this now. Okay, so you have different. You may not use it as the same amount as the other students, but it's important to know. If you do become a professor of accounting or business administration someday, you'll have to teach your students as well. Um, so today we're going to look at referencing. Last week we found how to find information. This week we're going to look at how to reference that information. So it is very important that you say where you got your ideas from. Otherwise, it's known as intellectual theft. And as we know, the Bible says, don't steal. So we can't steal ideas as well. So we have to say where we got them, and you will be surprised at how much money is involved in this whole particular referencing. Many people think that referencing is about honesty and intellectual honesty and not stealing and so on. Actually, mm, referencing is about money. Okay, plain and simple, money. Now, let me explain why. When you do research, right? You publish your research in a journal, and Uh, the university receives points for research published by its professors, and the research points are from a particular journal that you publish in. People read the journal and then they cite your work in their research, and so on and so on, right? And the more citations you have, the more points you get for your university. And the more points your university gets, the higher their ranking. And the higher their ranking, the more money they get from the government or from people who sponsor their work, which is why universities like Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Johns Hopkins, Oxford, Cambridge, all the Ivy League schools that you get around the world are so popular because their research attracts a lot of funding, right? So referencing is very important. And if you don't do that, um, first, there are academic repercussions, right? Now, today we're going to look at the most popular academic style of referencing in the world. It's called APA, American Psychological Association. Now, the referencing is hosted by the Psychological Association, but it's not only for psychology, it's used by science. All scientific subjects, so engineering, medicine, physics, biology, all the subjects use APA. There are other forms of referencing, like Chicago, which is what theology students use, or Harvard. Sometimes they use the Harvard. Harvard, because it's Harvard, they've got their own system of referencing because they're so fancy. Helderberg uses the APA style of referencing. Okay. There's also MLA, Modern Language Association. So you don't need to worry about the other styles of referencing. APA is the most important style of referencing, mainly because it's used by so many fields, right? So we are going to learn that. Now, in 2019, the APA revised the edition. Previously, we learned the sixth edition, but in our class, we're going to do the seventh edition, which is the latest version of referencing and style, right? So I'm going to teach you that. As time goes on, in about 5 to 10 years, they'll come out with another version, which will be the eighth, and then you'll have to transition to number 8, and so on and so on and so on, right? Now I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see what's going on. First, we're going to have a look at APA referencing. Okay, I'm going to go through this, right? I hope everybody can see this. So here, we have two kinds of referencing, right? One is called, as you can see here, in-text referencing. Now, in-text referencing means when you are writing your research in the actual article itself, you have to reference where you found the idea and so on. Now that you can basically do like this. For example, this is a book. Okay, um, you can see here the author's name or names if there's more than one. There's a little comma after that, the year, and you use your brackets. Okay. Now this is in text, right? In the article that you are writing yourself. Now, when you find the information, you have to say where you found it. So here we don't give the full reference; we give a partial reference, right? So Smith and Bruce, 2018. Then when we go to the end of the article, we have a look at the reference list, and then in the reference list, we will see a complete um, reference, right? So in the journal and so on. So for example, here, this is an example of the reference list. You'll get your author, the initials, the year, the article title, the journal title, right? The page numbers, DOI, right? If you remember, DOI means digital object identifier. It is a kind of tag for research that is done. So there's a DOI goes in there and so on. And then of course you have to follow the exact what needs to be italicized and so on and so on. So this comes in at the end of your research paper. right? So at the end, you'll include the whole reference, the proper reference. But when you're in the text, you don't need to do that. You can just, for example, this is a direct quotation, but you just put the person's or the researcher's names, year, and you put it in brackets. Now, there are various ways to do that. We call these parentheses, right? There's also a narrative, which I will get to in a little bit. Um, again, oh yes, when you come, the three most popular reference items, the book, the journal article, and the website. Now, many of you may be using websites and so on. So here is an example of a website reference, right? So this is the page, right? Centers for Disease Control, right? This is the CDC. Then the date, the exact date, the title, right, of whatever you read, and then the URL, the link where you can find it. Okay, so I will be giving you the handouts for how to reference all of these later. I will put it on Google Classroom so you can check when you are working through that for your own page, right? So let me just hop over. So I will show you an actual uh, journal article to explain. Right, so now this particular journal article, okay, so this is a journal article that appeared in Language Learning and Technology. Okay, the title of the journal article, you can see here, Digital Gaming Trajectories and Second Language Development, right? Um, So this is your abstract, right? Remember, we said the abstract comes at the beginning. You've got your keywords and APA citation. So you can see. So just quickly, you can see this article was written probably before 2015, but they finally finished and sent it in 2015. It was accepted 1 year later, more than in 2016, and then it was finally published in 2017. So it takes a lot of time to do research and to publish. Okay, so here the article starts. They're talking about digital game-based learning and so on, which these days is very popular with people, because you'll find that even though you'll find some professional gamers can't speak English very well, maybe their first language is Chinese or Mongolian or something that is not a common language, but they know English, especially the gaming English. They know what it means and so on and so on. So it's very interesting. So this article deals with gaming based learning, right? So as you can see, there are lots of references. Almost every sentence there's a reference, right? A year the research was done, and so on and so on and so on, right? Okay, so I want to show you, like, for example, have a look at this sentence, which says transfer is, however, ultimately difficult to substantiate and is multi-determined. Although various forms of transfer occur, success depends on certain aspects of the situation, including the content to be transferred and the context to which it is transferred, right? And then they go parentheses, Barnett and CC, 2002, page 632, close parentheses, period. Okay, this is one style of referencing. So now I know, okay, so Barnett and CC also said this or said this. And of course, you know, he used a short quotation from them. So he put in the page number, page 632. So if I want to find this particular research to check and to read up more, I will go to the end of the journal article and I will look for Barnett and Cici, right? So as I told you here, you just put in the author's names, the year, and well, in this case, page number, because he quoted directly. Then the next style, you can say here, oh, I don't even know how to pronounce this, but it looks like Pyrenean, Marsh, and Taino, 2009, right? Focus primarily on how learners playing digital games and embodying the characters can transfer the language from the game environment to in-person conversations with one another, right? So you can also do this. You can put the author's names or the researchers' names, and then in parentheses, the year the research was conducted. And then you can say, these guys said or these guys focus primarily on blah, 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 right? Or you can do it this style, which is say whatever they said first. You can give a short quote and then put their names in parentheses. So when you do this, at the end, if you're putting the researchers' names at the end, you must follow this format, right? If you're putting their names first and using a narrative style, then you put their names like this, and you put the parentheses around the year. Okay. Again, I will give you more on this later for you to read through and to follow. Then I said to you, if you look at the article, oops, we went past it. Right. So mm, at the end of the article, you will find the reference list. Right, here we go, references. Okay, so right at the end, you'll find the references. So if you remember, we talked about Barnett and Cece, right? So here's Barnett and Cece. Here's Barnett and Cece. Barnett, SM, those are his initials, CC, SJ, 2002. The article title, When and Where Do We Apply What We Learn? A Taxonomy for Far Transfer. Then psychological bulletin, the issue number, the page number, etc. Right? So that's the actual journal. You'll find here, there are many, many ways. And some people, here's a website, right, with the URL. Some of these have DOIs, some of them don't have DOIs. Some of them are from the actual journals themselves, like here's language teaching. All the italics are the language journals, and so on and so on, right? So this happens at the end of your article only, where you include the entire reference, including page numbers, etc., right, in detail. So if I want to find anything, I will go here. So if you remember last week when we were talking about references, if you have a topic, right, and you want to do research on a specific topic, find an article that deals with your topic, then go to the reference section. You'll find all the research available. It's not cheating because you're looking at what they looked at too, and you can have a look for yourself, right, without worrying about all the other stuff. And you don't have to do all the heavy lifting. So once again, you can see here, this is an actual article of how referencing works. Now, there we go. I want you to look at your academic paragraph, right? Later, maybe. Have a look at your academic paragraph. Now, for every statement or claim that you make in your academic paragraph, you must say or state the research to back it up, or what other people have said that will agree with what you're saying, right? So for example, let's say our topic is chocolate, right? I can't say chocolate is fattening. If I say chocolate is fattening, I need to say why I said that. So I will find some piece of research, like let's say Dico and Dico. So there are two researchers that are busy working on chocolate. Oops. Okay, we got 10 minutes left. Working on chocolate, and I will say chocolate has been shown to be fattening, and then at the end I'll put the parentheses, and I'll say Dico and Dico, uh, chocolate lovers in Africa, um, blah blah blah. Whatever title research they did, get fat and so on and so on. So then someone else is interested in reading Dico and Dico's research, then they will click on that article at the end in the reference and go find it, right? So you must show your references. Don't make claims without showing your research, right? But this is part A. We will get into the actual nitty gritty of it in part B. So what I'm going to do is for this week, I will upload some videos for you to watch that will explain in greater detail about referencing for a book, referencing for a journal article, referencing a website. I will also put up the documents for you to read through that deal with referencing. I also want you to look at your academic paragraph. right? And see if you can find sources that will substantiate, right? Or back up what you have been saying in your academic article, okay? Does everyone understand so far? Everybody with me? I haven't given you a chance for questions, so I'll just 1 or 2 minutes. Right. Any questions so far? This has just been an introduction to what you need to do. Any questions? Okay, please note you can also put your questions on the Google Classroom and we will respond to them, because whatever questions you may have, other students may also have, right? Just remember that referencing is very critical to any researcher, because it not only helps the researcher, but it helps you as well, right? Okay. Um, any questions? Any questions? Anything you want to ask me? Yes.
Hi, sir. I have a question.
Mm.
Next week is the midterm test. It says we're doing an academic essay. Is that based on the research question we were supposed to come up with
Yeah, no,
a couple weeks ago?
yeah, no, we've had to revise our table or our schedule for this semester. So originally that was the plan, but this semester we are not going to be doing any actual research because of the pandemic. It's going to be difficult for people to go out and research their questions. So I'm going to change the midterm paper to probably a kind of report that you will work on throughout the semester and submit in lieu of the midterm test. And it's going to be more of a theoretical paper. Okay, so I will
Thank you,
post,
sir.
yeah, I'll post more information about that. Don't stress about that.
Okay, cool.
I thought I did that. Okay, let me follow up, make a note of that. So let me just briefly explain how this would go in a normal semester, where before the pandemic hit, you'd have your research question, you'd conduct your surveys, you'd drop your questionnaires and so on, and then you'd go out onto the campus and you'd interview around 40 to 45 people, and then you'd put it together and we'd apply statistical measures and so on and so on. So we went through the entire research process and you got a good feel for it. But this semester we need to modify that a bit, and I'm still trying to figure out how we can get around that safely without anyone having a lot of contact with people. So stay tuned for that part. But in terms of the midterm, we're not going to be doing a traditional midterm test. Our midterm test will be more of a term paper that you will construct and submit probably later in the semester as we go through the whole research paper process, and you can start working on it. So I hope that answers your questions, Luca. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Thank you, sir.
No worries. Any other questions? No?
None,
Everybody?
sir. Thank you.
Okay, everybody looks hungry. Okay, cool. Thank you. I will post the remaining material during the course of this week and the videos for you to have a look at. Please go have a look at your academic article again for the referencing bit, right? And see how you can tweak the referencing bit, especially where you made claims and there is no references or no research to back it up. Perhaps you can go find something for that, okay? And then you can alter it. Cool. Thank you. Have a lovely day further. We'll see you guys around. Bye. Enjoy the week of spiritual emphasis.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.